Welcome everybody back to The Hole in the World, an actual play of the Invisible Sun RPG by Monty Cook Games. I am, as always, your humble GM, Zach, otherwise known as Great Zamino. I use he, him pronouns, and I am once again joined by my lovely cast for this, the last episode before our winter hiatus. We will be back in February, but in the meantime, I would like everybody to go ahead and do our introduction, and let's revel in this last little session before we get weird. So if you'll start us off, Marcy.
Hey everyone, I'm Marcy, aka Experimental Madness, which is the username you can find me most places around the internet, except for Twitter, where I remain the resident cryptid. And I intend to stay that way. But in theory, you can find me under the username Marciful. I'm back once again, playing Gavriel Kazan, the iconoclastic ardent apostate who hosts a choir. Oh, I'm so happy I still had that memorized.
Awesome. Well done, everybody. Or well done, Marcy, first.
No, everybody. I said I hosted a choir. So.
There we go. I love it. Does this make all of you great Zamino's angels?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Bad. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and now we're done.
Yeah, Zach's fired, so
you're never gonna find anybody as weird as me. Okay. Moving down the overlay, Bill, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
fine. Guess I will. I'm Bill. I'm playing Maurice, a stalwart empath of the Order of Weavers who turns tales into reality. And I'm going to do something with my monitor, so don't get freaked out that I'm coming real close to the screen.
Oh, no, please. No, don't. Moving over to the other side of the overlay, Hopper.
Oh shit, I was doing something with my screen. So, what's up everybody? I'm Hopper. I use they, them pronouns, and I am playing today in a surprising twist. I am back to my other asshole, and that I am playing Twig, iconoclastic ardent apostate who heralds beginnings.
No.
I love it. Love it.
Chris is ardent.
Yep.
Iconoclastic gallant.
Yeah,
maybe.
There we go.
Look, I got
Sad that I knew that.
I got 80% of the way there, and that's like a C. So fuck you guys.
Technically it's a B, but
Awesome.
B minus.
Well, that just means I'm doing better than I thought I was doing.
Finally, rounding out this misfit crew, Marissa, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, greetings and glad tidings, everyone. My name is Marissa. I use she, her pronouns. I'm also known as Critical Kitten, with various punctuation here and there on the internet. And I play Kiri von Hollingsworth, who is the first assistant librarian of the Order of the Vance. She is an Eremitic Stoic who understands the words, guardian of Zaleska's Grimoire, curator of King Nine's library, seeker of legendary tulips, and forgotten fiancés. Yeah, I don't think I missed anything.
Oh wow.
That's Kiri.
We've made this joke before, but one day it's literally just going to be your introductions, and then we're going to fade to black, executive produced by Dick Wolf. Anyway, so guys, a lot has been transpiring in the past few episodes. So in order to kind of set the tone as we go over that, allow me to briefly change the music to a tune you guys may recognize.
Why does that feel like a threat?
Tonight, we return to the city on the hill, in the heart of the silver sun, where the angels make their home. In the last episode of The Hole in the World, Gavriel, Kiri, Maurice, and Okris passed through the gate of the city, making their way past many pilgrims and a massive sentry known as Secretan, the Austiary. Once inside, they awaited the arrival of General Shaya Kazan and Majuin, Gavriel's long-lost parents. The vislae were quickly intercepted by Okarian, an angelic guide for Queen Frageliva, who had been summoned by General Kazan. Attempting to make a speedy passage to the palace of Queen Frageliva, the vislae finally made contact with Shaya and Majuin in a nearby square, which prompted Jakob, the corrupted Erebast, and Gavriel's uncle to emerge from the void in her chest. After Jakob seemingly killed Odontiel, a minor angel that had emerged to help her, the vislae entered into battle with this dark figure. Discovering that the harm that they did Jakob would be visited on Gavriel, Okris attempted to eat the spell corrupting the apostate's uncle. This triggered the reflexive defense of a vast and powerful entity, which promptly killed Okris, forcing Twig to emerge from their body anew. We now find our heroes surrounded by angelic guards outside of Queen Frageliva's palace. And so, all of that being said, let's tone it down a bit.
But like most family reunions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What's a little murder between family? So yeah, I think all of you find yourselves now outside of the palace of Queen Frageliva. You are surrounded by these angelic guards of what seem to be a higher order of an angel, and they are moving to flank you, some of them in spiritual form and others in physical form. That said, there's a couple things that we need to resolve. One, of all of you, the only person that managed to spot the transition between Okris to Twig was in fact Kiriel, who managed to see the flicker of the eyes underneath the mask of Okris change color. Not only that, but for your edification, Twig. Twig, it is almost as though you have awoken from a vivid dream in which you recount, it was almost as if watching somebody going through the motions of using your body while at the same time as though through the haze of kind of a mist-filled fog within a deep, dark forest. So given that that is the situation in which you find yourselves, I have to ask all of you, what do you do?
What did it look like when Okris died? Like, what did Maurice clock?
I will say that I think that you saw, well, describe how this would look for us. I'm gonna just say, Hopper, describe for what it would look like when you were executing, like trying to eat the spell.
I think it doesn't look so much as like, it's not like Okris was going for an all-you-can-eat buffet type vibe. I think this literally looked as they kind of jammed their hand forward and trying to interact with one of the other channels of magic to interrupt this spell and absorb it, more so than to kind of bring it into themselves. Mm-hmm. So with one hand extended, I think you could see or not see, depending on how that's I guess that's more of a you question, as they begin to try to rip this magic out of Jakob and into themselves. So it would have been like strands of unmagic, maybe like strands of nothing.
Did it look like Jakob was getting de-corrupted?
That's a Zach question.
So you've already seen kind of like almost this like ichor like kind of black substance like sloughing off of Jakob before he seemed to disperse back into Gavriel's chest. However, in order to read more into that, Maurice, go ahead and make me a magical lore roll. This would be informal, so you will have +1 to it.
That's an 8.
Okay, so what you see when this happens is you see a shimmer in the air. It is not unlike when you manipulate the weave itself and basically kind of command the currents of magic to conform to these weaves. Basically, if you think about it, it's almost like the weaves themselves are a tangle or kind of a stitch within a much larger tapestry that makes up the current of magic. And there are many currents. And I think that they have been discussed with you by your mentor, Kenroy, almost like obliquely and abstractly. You haven't really delved deep into them. But you know enough to see when one powerful effect is manipulated, it creates a much larger shimmer, almost like a blur in the current of the world. And there is reflexively something where you saw almost like a surge feed back into Okris, and then they crumpled. They seem to be getting up, however.
Okay. I think Maurice in this moment is looking, at Gav, looking at Okris, kind of trying to figure out what was okay, but turns his attention to the angels that are flanking. And can Maurice tell who's in charge?
I would say that there is one kind of physically formed angel, basically because angels exist like demons between two major forms, physical and spiritual. This one physical form seems to be kind of like a leader or a de facto leader stepping forward. It is moving forward. It has this large kind of almost golden eagle-like head as though it were made out of molded metal. And a series of wings on which are perched at the kind of the dew claws of the wings, a couple of several very kind of knowing sage eyes. And it is stepping forward, angelic sword clasped between two hands. But you have already, I will say, used the concept of red tape on them.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, I think what's happening at this moment is Maurice says, okay, I think it's safe now, and then goes and kind of rips up some tape off the ground as if to open a door to let this person in, and says, we need help.
The angel looks to you, looks down, and then swings the sword down so that it is gripping the hilt and moves it over to one side, and you just hear it say,
"Show me,"
and steps forward as if to follow. Yeah.
I'm still held physically bound.
That is a question for Kiri.
Well, so I think Kiri's eyes go wide. And I think she drops Barroth's binding grasp, which she had been holding up until this point, just out of pure shock.
So yeah, Gavriel falls down onto her knees, sort of holding herself on the palms of her hands, and is, I think, pretty exhausted given that all of you guys were making attacks. I don't know if that translates into any post injuries, Zach, or not.
I will say none of the attacks that were visited upon Jakob seemed to be intending to do damage. You just lost your ability to act, and and kind of had a decrement to your next two actions, which I think still persists, just because that is just a one and done effect of the spell.
Oh yeah, that's fine. She's not going to make any sort of action here. I think she's just sort of getting her bearings, and she definitely didn't see the transition because I think it was happening behind her. So she's just going to take a breath and try to get to her feet.
Okay. Yeah, I will say, let me see. This has been a lot of a lot's been going on. So why don't you roll me a withstand roll to see if you can kind of just try to shrug this off and kind of without assistance. And we'll take -2 to that roll. So that'll count against one of your actions.
So -2 to withstand?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, how much did you do? Was it a 1? A 0?
No, sorry. There was an audio issue where for a brief second my mic wasn't being detected, so I was just going to wait and hopefully it cleared up. So hopefully it did.
You got it. What you got?
It's an 8 on the dice, so -2, 6.
Okay. 8 on the dice, 6. I will say, yeah, you can fairly easily kind of pick yourself up.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that you are standing as this 8 foot tall entity is approaching you, sword on one side, and it seems to be kind of reaching out, almost a searching hand. Is eagle-faced, and it is looking down at you, and it kind of like normally a bird would have to pivot to one side to kind of like get a better eye on you, but because it has eyes on its dew claws and its wings, it's just moving forward. It's kind of gliding towards you. What do you do?
Is it approaching me with like anything that looks like threat or just curiosity?
Give me a sense motive. Give me an interaction roll.
I will say you can see Maurice like leading this angel towards you.
Okay, yeah, that probably helps.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay. How'd you do?
Terribly. I rolled a 0.
Which is -2.
Minus 2.
Yeah, on your
That's
next.
definitely the lowest roll I've seen on this stream.
So you have -2 to your action. This thing's coming straight for you.
Oh God. Oh no.
It is big and it is intimidating. You are dazed. What do you do?
I'm gonna spring to my feet and thank God I'm sort of incapacitated. Otherwise, I would probably be nervous right about now. But I think I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna assume a defensive stance. I see Maurice next to the angel, so I don't want to do anything that's going to harm Maurice.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like definitely, like fists they're shaking a little bit, and I think she's just like stay back.
Yeah, and I think at which point it returns its hand to its sword and then looks expectantly down at Maurice for a moment before I think your mother speaks up and clutching her head, and there's a trickle of blood coming down one nostril as she looks up and just says, no, please. She doesn't mean any harm. And I think at that point, Maduin is trying to like push her onto one of his shoulders and to support her and lift her up. And the angel, I'm going to turn the first card of the night to see how the angel responds. Jackal, the nemesis of mysteries, rats, mirrors, and stone. Intimidation, power, ruthlessness, dark magic, and necromancy. Game narrative, demons got involved. An NPC utilizes powerful and probably dark magic. Something important is destroyed by magic. The dead get involved. Let's see. I'm going to say because this card can be turned a threat or it can be an offer. The person's question may want to take precautions against hexes or dangerous magic. Or simply an angry vislae. The jackal in some instances can be equated to any figure in power, not just magical power or authority, but then usually only to a ruthless or intimidating figure. So I think what this angel does is it seems to kind of like process all of this like very quickly and decisively and says, you will pardon me.
You will accompany us to the courtroom, to the throne room of Queen Frageliva.
It is not a request.
Are we under arrest?
It does not respond to you. Your query.
Yeah, Gav is just gonna look at y'all, and I think in looking around, that's when she's gonna first notice that Ocarus is down.
Actually, yeah, that's a quick question. Twig, what do you do now that you have kind of like been smacked with this reflex?
How much did this hurt? Like, like Twig's basically waking up after getting hit by a metaphysical freight train, I presume.
Oh, yes.
Are there lingering effects for them?
I will ask you, what do you do as you kind of like, are you kind of like trying to take a stock while lying down? I will tell you this, your head is splitting. But
lying down seems like a good life choice.
You will not know until you kind of like try to get on your feet.
I think they'll make a very tentative, like, am I gonna die if I sit up? Maybe, let's find out.
Okay. As you sit up, that wrenching pain in your head forces you back down. You feel, I will say this, you feel as weak as a kitten. You feel a searing pain that seems to spread almost differently from the pain which you just experienced. And mechanically, one of your anguish boxes is now permanently filled.
Woo.
At least,
Wow.
yeah. At least until you find a way to undo it or to treat it, you now have only 2 anguish available to you.
That's
Damn.
What
That's
happens
rough.
when all of the anguish boxes are full?
We're gonna
Oh, you
find
die.
out. You're going to find
Ugh.
out.
I hate
Don't
that
find
answer.
out. Don't find out.
I'm gonna fuck around.
Yeah, how about we maybe don't find out?
Look, you can't dangle a juicy tidbit like that in front of me. I'm gonna find out. So yeah, Twig is just gonna like kind of lie back and just kind of like
I will say,
deep breaths.
as you move forward to, I think as you try and fail to get up, the angels seem to, from one side of this kind of leader, begin to move forward as if to pick you up by force. What is everybody doing?
I think so. Kiri had been basically, frozen in shock for a good part of the time since the realization struck. But I think as that's sort of thawing, she takes a tentative step toward Twig, like her hands starting to become outstretched toward them, and then draws it back, kind of hesitant. And then suddenly that flips, emboldened, something decisive clicks in her eyes, and she runs over toward Twig.
Okay. Yeah, you can tell that they are in some degree of distress and in a great deal of pain. You do not know the scope of which it is at cursory glance unless you take some more time, but these angels are beginning to approach, and the leader is looking expectantly at all of you. At this which point, I think Shia looks at all of you and said, "We are in her domain. If these angels wish us into her custody, she will know it, and that could be potentially beneficial." And she's saying this very quietly, in stage whisper to all of you, and I think Maduin is looking kind of apprehensively at all of you as well as at these angels.
I think you see, if I may, for the first time, father and daughter have the exact same facial expression, just a little bit. Like, I think it's hard because his face is a lot more bird-like compared to Gavriel's humanoid face, but the feathers, I think, are doing the exact same look, and we both are tilting our heads like at the exact same time, at the exact same angle, like, I don't really like this situation.
Yeah.
Maurice says to Gav's like, well, that's where we were going anyway, right? And kind of looks around, and then to Kiri says, is Okris all right?
Kiri is not paying attention to anything that is happening around her. She has sunk onto her knees next to Twig and is kind of peering into their face.
Maurice gets the attention of the lead angel and says, I think we need some medical attention.
And I think with one wing, the angel kind of outstretches it and signals as if for them to pick up Okris to all of you, but is actually Twig, and obliging him. A bunch of these angels, I'd say there are about a dozen around you now, both in kind of this energy, like light form with various kind of forms around it, as well as these kind of like large bird-headed angels, and they begin moving to pick them up. At which point I think that a set of angelic hands, 2 pairs of arms, begin picking them up off of the ground. Kiri.
Yeah, Kiri throws her arms out before that happens. Don't touch them.
Kiri, what are you doing?
And
Something has happened. That's Twig.
Maurice does a cartoon double take.
Yeah, I think we both do it at each other. And Gav's gonna start coming over at that.
And
do I have the strength to raise my arm?
give me a withstand roll.
Oof.
This is fine.
Yeah.
I actually have to look at my character sheet. It's been a hot minute. Withstand. Oh, nothing. I got nothing. Can I spend a sortilege?
You may certainly do that.
Cool. That's a 0 and an 8.
Oh God.
Is the 0 on the magic die?
It is not. Thanks.
Okay. On an 8, I think you just kind of almost like I think it's almost like a kind of a trained fighter. You kind of bound up, but it's almost like,
oh no, I'm not even trying to stand up. I'm just trying to like still lying prone.
Mm-hmm.
Twig just kind of raises their hand in the air and just gives a thumbs up. Like
yeah.
Standing up sounds too painful. I don't want to do that.
Excellent. So, all right. So I think at this point, I think that with the hand outstretched, Kira, if you would like to help them up and try to supersede the angels, you may.
Yeah, I think Kiri will do that.
Okay. So you put them under you put one arm kind of up under them to support them, and I think some of you hobble towards the palace unless you would like to do anything else.
Yeah, I just think as they're walking, Gavriel is walking by Kiri and Twig is I don't understand. What happened to Okris?
Kiri has no answers. I think for the first time, she's not asking questions. She doesn't really care why Twig is back.
Okay.
I think Maurice, as the party kind of exited to move, he's kind of standing there in shock. And I think, Duncan yips a bit and kind of shakes him out of the reverie, and he's bringing up the rear, just not sure what's going on.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's... and each of you kind of get led into this palace. And as you head into this palace, I need to change the music.
God, this is going to go great.
I think Gav is also talking to her parents too, just sort of like, should we be? She's not trying to be a secret. She's not whispering this, but should we be nervous at this point? Should you not be here? Should my father not be here?
And I think your mother, who has a million things that she wants to say to you, kind of bottles them up inside herself. And in order to give you an answer, she looks at you and she says, Queen Frageliva is one of the most powerful entities in all of the actuality.
No, that does not answer my question. If you cannot be here, I will cause another distraction.
And she says, and she as you are moving into the palace proper, into like the ante halls of this, she reaches out and she puts a hand on you, on your wrist, and just very kind of like to gently like dissuade you. I think if you were like reflexively pulling for a gun or like gesturing, she just kind of puts her hand on yours and says, there is no person you would less want to make an enemy of in all of the actuality than Queen Frageliva. Her sight...
Careful, I've already made quite a number of enemies.
Not one such as this.
Is she your enemy, though? Or are we safe within these walls?
We are safe. I am a goetic of the right-handed path. And such vislae Queen Frageliva looks favorably on, particularly one who has done much in the way of service. And you realize she's speaking of herself and her long and storied career. You have no idea how storied, but you sense there that there is something there, so to speak.
Yeah, I feel like some of the things she said just go right over Gab's head, but because she shared a brain with Mott temporarily, some of those questions are tampered down just a little bit. Like she's aware of how powerful her mother is too, and I think Gab just gives a nod and says, "Very well.
Okay.
I can be on my best behavior."
And there's kind of this weak smile on her face and you realize that her gaze is lingering on you as if every moment she's drinking you in. And you all are kind of walking at this point, a very short distance up a set of several flights of stairs, and at the top of which is a large set of ivory doors engraved with any number of what you realize from your time in Mott's perspective are angelic sigils and symbols of power. And you realize that as they rise up to the level of these doors, there are 2 additional sentries, much larger angels than the one leading you. The sentry that is leading you stares up to look at them. They all kind of make eye contact with him and open these large ivory doors. And you realize it is leading into a large, almost kind of like parlor chamber. Inside, just beyond, you see an even larger set of engraved ivory doors. And at which point the sentries turn to all of you. And you realize someone you have kind of forgotten is there, rushes up to speak to the sentry as he moves to open the door. It is Ocarian, the angelic guide who kind of disappeared while you were in combat, and you realize has been kind of running between these kind of lead sentry angels and trying to get an ear in, so to speak. And so there's a quick hushed conversation, which seems to have these kind of like deep resonant tones. And you see at one point, the lead sentry kind of looks to all of you, at which point Ocarian opens a third eye, a human eye in the middle of his owl head, turns to look at all of you, surveys you, and then turns back, all 3 eyes looking at the sentry. And there is a wordless kind of exchange between these 2 entities. And Ocarian turns to all of you and says, "I will try to address Queen Frageliva on your behalf. I ask that you all wait here in this parlor for some time." And he looks at all of you, looks at the shape of all of you standing there and says, do your best to make yourselves comfortable. Hopefully this will not take long at all. And the even larger guards of the door open the door a crack, and Ocarian kind of ambles through. After you realize he has kind of taken a deep breath in. And you guys are in this parlor for the time being.
Is there somewhere to sit down?
I will say there are very lavish kind of seating around in this parlor. Some of them are engraved in marble and cushioned. There seems to be kind of almost like a gallery for visitors, but often you see just almost kind of like waiting to the side are some very kind of important looking entities that are similar in nature to the angels you've already encountered. One of which you realize is a massive ball of light. It's almost like Odontiel, but there seem to be these constellations of swords and kind of armaments swirling around it. And it seems to be having a discussion, almost like pulsing in certain frequencies, with another kind of dignified looking angel, who you realize is probably some high muckety muck at this court. But you guys are relatively in kind of privacy, and you have at your disposal some seating arrangements if you want to lie down, recover, or wait.
Yeah, I think Kiri probably escorts Twig to the nearest seating option, and then, like, once they're seated, sits down next to them.
Okay. I will say, I will ask very quickly, Maurice, what are you doing while those two are doing that?
I think Duncan starts trotting over to Twig and yips up at, like, Twig's ankles. No, it jumps up on the seat. That's what happens. Just jumps up next to him. Mm-hmm. And Maurice follows over and is just kind of staring at Twig's face, like trying to figure out what the trick is.
And still masked, still wearing. I think the most dramatic thing that everybody sees is there is obviously a change, but you would be hard pressed to pinpoint exactly what that is. Same body, same clothing, same gear. The only noticeable difference is that the eyes have gone from that rich, fiery green to this kind of pale, just almost like kind of like how rose quartz looks with, like, it's kind of like with those deep imperfections, especially within refractory, like just occlusions. Eyes kind of that color, just a scooch redder, and but they just hold themselves differently. Like, the way their body moves is different. It's a very odd sensation. It is like watching. It's like somebody else put on a glove.
Oh, excellent.
I think Maurice is kind of softening at this because Maurice likes Twig and is kind of clocking this ineffable distinction and still staring and not saying anything, but really starting to believe this.
As I think all of your compatriots are turned to them, Gavriel, I think there's kind of like this moment where I think your own curiosity kind of turns to them as well, and then you feel your mother and your father's grasp, as if sensing an opportunity, they pull you aside to have to finally talk with you.
Yeah, she'll go with some measured glances of suspicion over at Twig Ogress that I'm not sure they can really see because she's standing a little further back.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I think Twig is definitely caught up in petting.
You can feel the glare from across the room.
Just like petting, scratching Duncan's ears, and then Spidey senses, if this is a comic book, the little red lightning bolts.
Yeah.
And I think that your mother I think pulls you kind of aside, and Maduin is kind of like standing, kind of looming over her. How tall is your mother, would you say?
I was thinking like 5'6", 5'7".
Yeah.
So maybe like just an inch or two taller than Gav.
Yeah, I would say that your father does tower over her.
Yeah.
Yeah, he I think kind of like takes those kind of clawed arabast hands, those talons that they have, those kind of bird-like talons that are still kind of like these human-like hands, and he takes them from around your arm and kind of sensing the importance of this moment between you and your mother, rests them on her shoulders, and just kind of almost kind of pets her shoulders as if to reassure and to kind of calm and kind of comfort her. And she looks, and there's a million things she wants to ask you, and she looks at you and says, your friend is all right then, I hope. Is everything all right?
Friend is a strong word. I am not sure that they are my friend at the moment. It's complicated.
And there is that moment where she just says the thing that has been clearly on her face. She just says, I want to ask you so much of how are you here? What happened to you? Why now?
I could ask you the same thing.
And she looks at you, and Madwin looks down at her and kind of like nods her at her and says, it was strange. For the longest time, in the haven of the unknowable angel, I felt that something was wrong. Something that was missing. And I could not put my finger on it until now. Until only a few days ago, I felt what had been taken from me. How you had been taken from me, and I was restless. Others have left the haven, but I could not. I could barely stay still. And then I heard your thoughts. And I got to greet you.
So all this time, you did not even know that I existed?
And there is like this kind of, this bereft look on her face as she nods and is just starting to, like her eyes are starting to close. She is starting to tear up. I would like you to make me a magical lore roll.
Sure. Got a +1 to that. That'll be 7.
Okay. So one thing that strikes you in common here is that Kieran did not seem to reach out for all of you until a few days ago. It's similar to what she's describing. And you realize, I think that there is something that has changed in the past few days, i.e. when you exited the war report.
The war report.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was fully aware of the stuff that people have forgotten.
Yeah. That's
correct. And I think she's not angry, she's confused. All of this is new. And she's just, I did not know that you or my father existed until recently as well. I do not know why this is, but my companions and I, we had, read is not the right word, but it is the only word that I think makes any amount of sense. It is a war report. We read it, and it read us, and I saw the final battle in the war.
And she thinks for a moment, and I'm gonna see how much of the cobwebs she's shaken off. Golden ship, wealth earned, honor, prestige, and respect. This is a 2. It emphasizes gold. It weakens silver. There's many ships, but only one golden ship, the legendary vessel. So supposedly carries only the greatest heroes, the most influential celebrities, the highest nobles, and the most powerful vislae. To ports of call most people cannot even imagine. Even seeing the ship is a great honor. It represents wealth and prestige. A highly positive card, the golden ship suggests that one will earn fame, wealth, or respect, or all three. It presages a successful endeavor, but usually only if that endeavor is grand in scope. The golden ship does not waste its time on petty actions or minor deeds. Alternatively, this card turn might suggest the intervention, again probably in a positive way, of someone wealthy, well-respected, or influential. The starry sky is our ocean. We set sail for eternity. So she takes a look and she puts the pieces together. And she says, so Zaleska was successful.
In a way, we did. We met Zaleska at the very end. When the war report had run its course, she was the last person that we met.
What has become of her? I remember her and her Vances, they had so many stratagems. They would be a huge, massive ally in helping whatever we were to do.
I cannot explain it. I barely understand it myself. I do not think that she exists in a way that is tangible that could help us. But I understand so little of how structured magic works here. I could not be sure. She gave me something before everything dissolved. And Gav holds up her hand where I think it's always faintly glimmering in the palm through the veins up it. It's called a seed of truth.
And yeah, her eyes widen at that. As she recalls those, I think she's recalled many conversation about this. And she looks at you and she says, you are a seed bearer.
It seems that way. We have knowledge of more that exist. We are set on finding them, if it means the end of the Vespertine.
And again, the eyes, like, I think the eyes darken when you hear the word, when she hears the word Vespertine. And there is like a scowl that crosses her face as she, like, I think there's a glimmer of it as she kind of like refocuses back on you, on the most important thing. And I think that she says, but all of this can wait. We have time, however little. I have to know so much. I have to know how you survived, what has transpired, what is the world like?
The world? I was not raised here. I have only been back a short time. I would not even call it my world properly, even if it might be the truth. I was raised in the Grey.
The Grey? But that's... Well, it was a refuge, but it felt like a last resort more than anything.
So you did not put me there?
No.
Then who did?
And she looks over and there's just that kind of like her eyes fall on Maurice, who is happily kind of, or not happily, but kind of like very quietly checking in on Twig.
I was not raised with anything like this. Gav just gestures to all of it. I do not understand. I'm learning how to, but the only thing that I knew when I came here was that everything was wrong. People did not seem to fully know themselves. The history of this place is disjointed and broken, and that was why we sought the war report, all of us. We all could not remember our previous lives here. If this was, in fact, the actuality, it did not feel like anything. We were all disconnected from the truth. So we went looking for it, and it found us. Whatever the Vespertine were doing during the war, I think they have still been doing it now. I do not have enough proof to know if they run Citrine or not. I have my suspicions. I have been wanting to take them down now more than ever, now that I have a name for an enemy. But no one remembers the war, and no one remembers who they are. And it seems it extends to here.
And I think there is a searching look in her face. And I think that is when your father steps in. And I think he rests his hand on top of yours, and that telepathic connection forms. And what voice does your father's voice sound like in your mind?
Reassuring. I think there's an easy confidence. Are you saying that it sounds different to everybody that forms that telepathic link? Because I remember we did this with Mott.
Yeah, I think Maduin, when Maduin met with Mott and did this, it took on the form of somebody from the back of Mott's mind and their memories, and his memories, I should say.
Do you know what it sounds like?
Yeah, I think that
It sounds like Mott.
Yeah. Okay. At which point, I think you hear in your mind, God, I'm going to butcher this so badly.
Do it. Do the accent, Zach.
I command you. I think you just hear, what was it? There are many magics, older, more powerful than anything you'd ever remember. There's many different spells that can have such an effect. Maybe not even things you call spells at all. That is a terrible... I am going to...
No, you're doing a great job. It's not any worse than mine was.
All right.
Just channel your inner badger.
Yeah, my inner badger.
Punchy badger.
Yeah,
Punchy badger.
Get your Michael Caine on.
Michael Caine.
There are many forms of magic, very
There you
old.
go.
How many forms of magic are there, Mr. Bruce?
I'm instantly sorry I said this.
Good night, you princes of
Oh,
Saturine.
God.
Good night, you delightful vislae. Anyway.
If we don't get
There
a
you go,
full,
you got it, you got it.
That's the narration from
That's
here
it.
on out. That's it.
Yeah.
That
wanna
was
hear
so
anything
good.
else.
That was so good. We're gonna get a copyright strike.
Yeah.
Can you copyright strike an accent?
Count it.
I do.
Oh, I imagine Disney will find a way. Anyhow, so yeah, I think
That's the real big bad mouse.
I will say this: the description that he kind of speaks to you, it comes with a series of images. You kind of see in your mind an image of these kind of Erebast that you realize are in like better or less dark times. They seem to be gathered around and are speaking, and as they are telling stories to one another within this kind of like great Colosseum, almost think of it like an amphitheater, Greek style. You realize that some sort of discourse is taking place, and as this discourse takes shape, there is one great speaker in front of, you realize, Maduin and a number of other members of this nation. And this speaker, as he speaks, forms appear in the air that are incredibly abstract and yet very vast and very powerful, as if being dreamed into existence by this discourse. And so there is this kind of image of a style of magic that is unique to his people, that perhaps even predates vislae.
There is so much that I would wish to learn about our people. But this is surprisingly more difficult than I thought it would be. I have been raised, both in the Grey and here, that everything is war. There is a mission next. Never any time to really talk or learn about things that are lost.
And I think that on this, your father says, then we will make time. And as he says that, there is the clearing of a throat. And the door is opened again. You heard the kind of the crack of the door as it pushed open and the clearing of the throat. Before we segue into that, what has everybody else been up to while they have been discussing this?
I think Kiri is watching Twig pretty anxiously, her gaze kind of searching their face like a mother who watches a child who has just passed the crisis of a deathly illness. And I think she looks at them and she just says, "Hey."
Hi.
You good?
No.
No. Where... you've been gone a while. I thought...
How long?
Maurice speaks
long
up,
back.
says like, well, it depends if you're counting days or experiences. And Maurice explains that they were recently inside of the war report and how I think it was the 9 months, was it, Zach, that transpired?
Yeah, it was 9 months.
Oh, I remember most of that. How long's it been since then?
Too long with that asshole. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you're back, Twig. I like you so much more.
You're welcome.
I feel it.
Welcome back.
Hopper's feelings are both hurt and I feel like I'm being complimented and insulted at the same time. Yeah. What did it tell you anything about what's going on?
Maurice takes a knee and kind of gets up close, kind of whispering a bit. It says, Okris said that you were dangerous. Okris seemed like your enemy. I don't understand what you are. Do you remember anything else?
I feel like I've been wandering around for a while.
I called to you. Did you hear it?
I think so. There was... I remember it was like it was like somebody was playing a broadcast in the middle of the woods, and I could hear the things that were being said, but I couldn't see it or feel it or actually be there. But I don't know how long that was between that, and it felt recent. Time seems a little bit slippery.
Why did you come back? What happened?
I have no fucking clue.
Who is Okris? Who are you?
Please see my previous statement.
Should I be scared of you? Okris seemed concerned. Do you have an opinion of Okris?
Kind of a dick.
Okay, well, same page.
But I've only ever seen through their eyes, or our eyes. That's confusing. I've never properly talked to them.
Maurice
You're
gestures
connected
towards
to
your
them.
Maurice gestures towards your chest and says, well, it's not the only thing you shared in common. Apparently you share a sense of self-preservation. They were on the hunt for your missing hearts, and I think you still need those pretty badly.
Yeah, there's 2. Just seems a little bit weird, but I guess it kind of makes sense.
1 heart each.
Kiri, as they're having this discussion, what's running through your head?
I think Kiri's listening to sort of the minutia as they're discussing sort of the what, the why, the how. But Kiri's sitting with this notion that Twig has returned, and everything that she had been working for or trying to accomplish to make that happen, to forcibly draw her friend back out of Okris, all the plans and strategies she had in place, what in fact she was going to ask of Queen Frageliva, is now, she's feeling, I think for the first time, a very deep relief. And she doesn't quite know how to grapple with that.
And I think that as you're kind of relieved, you see a flash of light across your eyes. And there is, far off in the corner of this parlor, a small mirror staring back at you.
Kiri's eyes are fixed upon the mirror. She looks at it, notes its existence. She doesn't get up or go to it.
And that is when I think you hear and Okarian is staring at all of you from the entrance to this throne room, and is saying, Queen Frageliva will see all of you now. And he steps back in, and the sentries begin pulling the doors open. As you kind of see just past the doors, you see an almost enormous kind of spotlight of light within a vast chamber that is otherwise relatively dark in comparison, even though it itself is fairly luminescent. What do all of you do?
Oh God, I hope she's ready for us.
Okay.
Maurice offers a hand to Twig to help them up.
I think, Twig is fumbling for the catch on this half mask. Can't fucking breathe in this thing.
Too much shit on me.
Kiri would like to try to help, like get it off from the back.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do we need to roll for that?
No,
Roll to unlock the class.
Just paint me a word picture, because this is pretty ridiculous.
Knowing Okris, it's probably something ungodly obnoxious. It's like somebody was like, it'd be funny if we made the worst series of clasps in the world and made them impossible to get off.
I feel like Gav sees you all doing this now that her attention has been pulled away from her parents, and just sort of says, you shouldn't do that. Okris had a reason that they wanted you to wear it. There was mention of the fact that you were a complete and utter idiot for going around without one.
Well, did they say why?
I hazard to guess that you may have enemies, and they may recognize your face.
And Maurice kind of glares at this and says, yeah, I mean, that mask, totally, I couldn't tell who it was.
It's better than nothing.
At which point you said,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. I can't breathe. Can somebody like just
Yeah, I think
pawing at the back of this thing?
Can I? Ooh, wait.
Yeah.
I have a thing.
You have a thing.
You have a thing?
You have a magic spell.
do.
You can't use your hands?
Well, I mean, I do. I have a cantrip that is allows me to like knock on a door. I don't know if that you could like knock on the lock and like allow.
Fuck, ow, ow, that's so loud.
Masks and doors, totally the same thing.
That
I think a Carrion, exasperated looking at this process, beggars for a sword from the angelic, one of the angelic sentries. Oh, actually, no. He goes over to the glowing ball, picks one of the weapons out of its constellation of weapons circling around it, at which point you hear kind of like almost like a protesting noise from this effulging ball of light. And he makes with it very quickly and begins cutting at the strap of this mask. And you just hear him as he's working away at this saying, "You do not want to keep Queen Frageliva waiting." And just
open it.
Yeah.
Guy, come on.
And then just wrenches it. I think that doing this kind of scrapes a little bit of your cheek. But
little trickle of ink runs down like the side of Twig's jaw.
And the mask, you now have in your hands the mask of the 13th hour.
Cool.
Okay. And then
before we go in, Maurice would like to do a weave.
Okay.
He'll get into a position where, after Twig is helped up to where all four of us are in close proximity, he's going to use the heart aggregate, specifically the courage aspect, and weave it with the speech part of wind, and says, "We've got this. We don't waste an audience with the queen." And my intention is to add some bene to everyone's interaction pools. I'll figure out exactly what that is.
All right.
Much needed. I got one bene in interaction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't everybody else also giant stacks of inspiration walking around? That's what I'm good at, talking.
I good with shoot. I shoot. I shoot gun.
Add 3 bene to interaction.
Okay. Make sure to spend the sorcery for your weave.
I'm up to a total of 5.
Okay.
I feel fancy.
That's more than me.
All right. So at this point, you are ushered into this throne room, and all around you, you sense, I think in the dim, kind of like relatively dim lighting, there is almost like a glittering silvery sheen coming off all of the walls as those angelic sigils that have been kind of engraved into the door are on every inch of every part of the surface of these walls. They themselves like a sort of marble texture. And as you step into the hall itself, this vast meeting hall, you find yourself kind of staring up a massive flight of stairs. I will say flights and flights of stairs that all ascend in a throne. The throne itself, once again, made out of this kind of similar marble sculpture, along with kind of this almost pearlescent metal. And sitting on the throne, 40 feet tall at minimum, even this distance away, she is taking up so much space that it is hard to deny just how much she looms over this vast throne room. Is this angelic being that very much has taken on the countenance, or at least the face, of a woman. The face is a dark, almost matte silver, only by contrast. There is a bright white light that is kind of piercing through her eyelids and appraising all of you. Queen Frageliva, the Queen of Angels. And she is kind of dressed in this very elaborate, as if made by hand by thousands upon thousands of angelic beings, these kind of like garments that seem to flawlessly fall in almost like painterly fashion over one side of the throne. And at the same time, her hair seems to be these thick, long strands, similar in these kind of like pearlescent metal that the throne is made itself out of. And at a distance, anybody who wants to give me a perception roll, I can tell you what you see.
Absolutely. 1.
It is, I think that you are just overtaken.
She fucking big.
She fucking big. She big. She big boss. And she
just Lady Dimitrescu vibes, or whatever you pronounce her name.
Lady
Giant vampire
Dimitrescu.
lady. Yes, that one.
Yeah, let me shift the appropriate.
I'm just distracted by an incredibly tall woman.
My big wife.
I think we can all agree
my
with
big
that
wife. But yeah, absolute. This just fantastically larger than life figure looks down upon all of you appraisingly, and I think that there is this very kind of calm and even tone in her voice as she kind of reaches back to all of you, all the way down to you with her voice, this kind of angelic lilt and kind of resonance in it. She looks to all of you and says,
"And what business of yours brings you to my court this day?"
I think Maurice steps forward and Your Royal Highness, if I've met you before, it's good to see you again. I've learned that I am also royalty, to be known as the Spider Prince.
and she
Oh God.
there is her eyes flash, and the eyes seem to bathe you in that white light. Any of you can kind of give me an interaction roll if you want to see what's happening, but after a moment, she looks at you and then says,
"Then I suppose the pleasure is mine, Spider Prince."
Please, you can call me Maurice.
And there is anybody who wants to make that roll, go ahead and do it now.
Yeah, I rolled a 4.
Okay.
That's me
5.
putting that bene in there.
Is this the perception?
Yeah, this is interaction.
Interaction.
Oh. I'll put a bene in there as well.
Lord
this
knows you
isn't
got him
rela-
now.
This isn't related to deception, correct?
Yeah, this is more
No
like
reason.
it's to see what she's doing. It's kind of like you can use sense motive if you have it.
Oh, no, still don't have that.
Okay, 7. Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, you realize, I think, Gavriel and Kiri, you are taking this in. Whatever she is doing some sort of magical scan of some sort, kind of like some sort of divination, looking on him with her eyes at will. But Twig, you realize that she is assessing the truth of his statement.
Ooh. It's menacing.
And she looks down once again at you, Maurice, and she says,
"So then I take it that you are responsible for the conflict that occurred outside the walls of my palace."
Your Highness, we were invited to come to your court after that happened.
And again, she assesses this and then looks to all of you and looks once again at you, Maurice, and then says,
I must confess, I do not recognize many faces arrayed before me, but I do recognize yours.
And she gestures towards your mother, Gavriel.
General Kazan, it is a pleasure to see you. How has your time been with the unknowable angel?
And your mother kind of stares up at her and says, very restful, very peaceful, Your Highness. And she nods and then looks expectantly at all of you. What do you do?
I think Maurice is kind of like killing some time here. The guards for their quick action and their help, and gestures to Akarian and thanks him very much, and is just trying to make avoiding all awkward silences, but he's creating space for those who have specific requests for the Queen to get the gumption.
So I have turned a card while you were describing this. And I have turned the Swan, which is the companion of Vision, Swans, Blades, and Water. Meanings are good fortune, good weather, latent talents, elegant and serene. The Swan is the companion card of the Vision's family. It is a harbinger of luck, and in particular, it is said to bring calm, favorable weather with it wherever it goes. But as many someones have said, we make our own luck. In this case, the Swan represents that as well. In the midst of a challenge, someone displays a talent, an affinity, or even a magical ability that they didn't know they had. When this happens, it is sometimes called a Swan event. This is a card suggesting good fortune. The winds of fate blow favorably for the person in question, and the path that lies before them. Rarely, however, it is deeper than that. The Swan and its resultant Swan events can suggest that one might have a talent that has so far been unrecognized, even by the person in question. That talent is the key to moving forward and succeeding at some upcoming challenge. But how does one discover such a thing? Okay. The Regal Swan's quiet mind conceals wonders. So.
That is my card family.
And I will say this, I think you do kind of successfully seem to kind of like weather through this like very intimidating experience. And her demeanor doesn't seem to change. It's very implacable, or not implacable. It's very impassive seeming. But I think that by reputation and just kind of like from the what you've kind of heard of her, what you've kind of like has been like kind of implied by everybody's like manners, that this is no easy task. So she is continuing to look expectantly at you, and one finger is now resting on her human chin. And the finger itself is, of course, made of even more of that pearlescent metal. It seems to shine light from the joints. And is once again, she is appraising all of you and looking expectantly from one to each of you, wondering what you want.
So we should ask something, otherwise I'm going to ask something. Nobody wants that.
You don't want it either.
I will tell you this. I think if nobody speaks up immediately, your mother will speak up for you, Gavriel.
Oh, I'm 5.
It's more like she looks up at the Queen and she says, Your Highness, my mother, my daughter, and she gestures to you, Gavriel, seems to have found some members of your court of the Silver Sun inside of her. And at which point the queen leans forward.
Oh, geez.
And looks and sees the halo spinning in the center of your chest. And I think that she says, she looks at you. And do you say anything before she kind of responds to this invocation from your mother?
If it were to mean anything, I'm not certain how your citizenry found its way here. She gestures to the halo. When I returned to Citrine, I was already like this.
And your mother is looking kind of like at this and looking kind of expectantly and hopefully back up at Frageliva. And I am going to turn one more card.
Oh man, am I gonna lose my host acquire status?
Ooh. This is a good one. The Revolutionary, the sovereign of secrets, ravens, books, and flame. Its meanings: change, destruction, lust, sexuality. Sovereign of the family of secrets, the Revolutionary is a force for change, quite possibly the least secret of the family. The Revolutionary is brazen and bold, changing what needs changing, even if through destruction or violence. And generally considered a positive card, the Revolutionary indicates sex and sexual energy, or alternatively change for the better. However, less often the interpretation functions on the destructive nature of the change. I will say this. He changed everything and looked damn good doing it. That's the text for the card. So I will tell you this. She looks, and again, her eyes flash, and she reads into your chest, and you hear her kind of almost taken aback a little bit, which is very hard for something like this Colossus to do. You hear the creak and the groan of the throne as she moves backwards, and you hear her say, in an almost kind of outraged voice,
"What manner of vislae sorcery?"
And as if she is moving to kind of like make a gesture with her hand, as if she's about to pull at you, her hand stops and her head turns. And then she looks back down at you. And she looks at you, Gavriel, and says,
"You must ascend that staircase."
I
And
do not understand why.
And she looks to the angels who seem... she has pointed them towards a kind of passageway to the stairs that are at the very rear of this massive throne room. And there are several sentries located by each one of these entry points. And she looks to you and says,
"The Ru Stam has bade an audience with you."
The who? Who?
Your mother looks surprised. All of the angels, like, I think that Ocarian begins kind of grasping his owl beak. And
Gav is looking at the rest of you like, what the fuck is happening?
And yeah.
Can I use a point of hidden knowledge?
You may certainly do that.
I have such a plethora of hidden knowledge. I need to use it.
Would you say that you have a plethora of hidden knowledge?
Oh boy.
Go ahead and roll intellect then.
really say it's more of a bounty, but that is a 7 on the dice plus, if this is magical lore, then an 8.
Okay. So tell me something. What aspect of your hidden lore do you think applies in this case? Like, what little bit of knowledge do you think you are exercising here?
I think this is some of those weird things that just trickled through during the this is something that a name that was heard during the war report.
Okay. I will tell you this.
And Twig never forgets anything once they hear it.
Okay. So I will tell you this. You vaguely remember a thought that felt like Okris's, but also felt like your own, as you were gazing on General Kazan one day as she was working to make colloquy with angels and to bargain with them. The Ru Stam came up, and the Ru Stam is what you understand is a piece of the legacy. It is rumored that when the world was created, the only evidence that was left behind by the creator of this world, by Vislae herself, were pieces of her legacy, artifacts of incredible power. And the Ru Stam is perhaps one of the most cornerstone pieces of this legacy. In so much so that the vast temple tower that greeted you, whose sight spiraled into the heavens, disappearing into the sky, so much so that that tower was built to enshrine and to protect it.
Oh, fuck, we're gonna have to go up so many stairs.
And that is what you have in knowledge, Twig.
Cool, I'm not gonna share that because I'm the worst.
Okay.
Are we all summoned?
She's looking expressly just at you.
Okay.
Maurice says
What's
something. He says, is this now? Should we all prepare to go to the Ru Stam?
Only your companion has been invited.
Look, if you want your citizens back, you may take them. I did not steal them. If this is a trial of some kind, I could not tell you how they entered into my being.
You are beyond my concern.
Oh.
I think Kiri looks over at Gav and I think says, it might know something, whatever this is.
And
the only way we'll know is if you go.
And at which point I think your mother chimes in and says, there is nothing to fear, at least I hope not. This may be indeed a very great blessing. This is a piece of the legacy.
I suppose there is no way out of it.
And this massive angelic queen, she gestures to the guards, and each of them take flanking positions beside you and await your movement to the stairway.
Man, I'm having such a visceral image of how small Gav looks standing at the base of this staircase, looking up at these like 20-foot tall angels and this massive staircase. She is there and she looks behind at the rest of them and is just, at the very least, ask good questions while I'm gone and get us some allies and I'll move against the Vespertine if I don't come back. Kill a few for me.
Walks forward and you in a tight hug and says, you are coming back.
Well, I always endeavor to try.
He whispers low. I'm so sorry I did this to you.
Maurice, none of us remember who we were. You do not need to apologize for something you do not know you did.
But that's the thing. It was me. And that's why I'm going to make it right. And then he nods at the staircase and says, we'll be here.
All right. And she just heaves a sigh, and she still like has the rifle on her back, and she like cocks like one hand on it and just starts mounting the staircase. Is just like, if my rabbi could see this. And she's just like making those like comments and like kind of half laughing to herself as she's like ascending the staircase to go chat with angels.
It is terrifying, by the way, that these angels don't respond to any of your jibes or jokes. They are completely impassive, like almost like walking statues. They escort you up these stairs, and after several flights, you realize that there is a platform on which you find yourself situated. And before you can kind of take a look, you kind of look out past this platform, which opens up like a balcony to the skies of the city itself, and looming before you is the massive temple tower of the Ru Stam. And before you can kind of wonder how are you going to get there, these two angels pick you up bodily by each of your arms, grasping gently, and take flight and begin winding you up into the sky above the tower, above to where the tower reaches its peak. And after I will say a quick minute of flight, these angels are moving incredibly quickly. You find yourself at kind of almost this similar open balcony, upon which are standing yet again more angelic sentries, but it all seems to be in the service of this kind of massive, almost top floor atrium, or not atrium, but kind of like this colonnade that is circular with nothing to support at the top. The sky is open through the effect of kind of like this seemingly oculus that this colonnade creates, and you look deep into the clouds of the silver sun that seem to kind of like be obscuring it, but the sun almost seems to shine directly on a point in the center, and in a pool surrounded by, once again, these kind of carved circular drawings of angelic sigils and engravings, is a massive gem with 17 facets that glimmers silver. And as you gaze upon it, you feel a feeling of reassurance and a small voice it's not a human voice, but you recognize it as a thought that says, approach. What do you do?
Man, I don't even think I feel like she has no choice. I feel like there's almost a compulsion that reaches down and she starts walking forward.
And as you walk forward, your reflection in one of these facets looks back at you. And as you move forward to it, your reflection kind of regards you, and then it puts up its hand to the facet. What do you do?
Oh, so through the war report, Gav has heard about the many-faceted one and is starting to wonder if this is God, Scaff's gonna have an existential crisis, like here and now, and it's just sort of whatever she expected, it wasn't that, and she's just you're going to need to tell me what you need of me, because I am so far out of my depth here.
The hand is on the facet, and it looks at it and then looks back at you, and there is a small, warm smile.
You are not, this is a wild question to ask, but oh, Hashem, are you that, or are you, you're not, you've never been to a burning bush before, you've not, you've never parted a sea, please say no.
And there is almost kind of like a tinkling bell of laughter in your mind.
Is that a yes? This is like a ass go freak out.
You don't know. What do you do? His hand is still up.
What do you want from me? I'm a girl from Moscow, and I have no idea what I'm doing here.
And you just hear in your mind again that thought read aloud as if in your own voice. You are more than that. Come in and we will talk more.
Gav matches the hand
And
on the facet.
And as your fingertips touch the facet of this massive gem, you feel a similar process of when you were translated into the war report, but it is gentle. And you find yourself bathed in silver light, and you find yourself in a very comforting environment where silver light streams in, and through almost as if through a layer of pearlescent light, you see this almost kind of paradisical imagery in like a window just past your vision, as if you are in a much larger chamber within the gem itself. And looking up at you, as you kind of turn your attention, there is a little girl looking up at you with a smile on her face, and you recognize that the little girl, minus the feathers, minus the void in your chest, is you. And looking up at you and said, I wasn't sure how much more I was going to have to tell you to touch this, but I'm so glad you're here now. I'm the Ru Stam. I'm so happy to meet you. And that is where we're going to take our 10-minute break. So, all of you find yourselves in the throne room of Queen Frageliva, minus one of your companions. I think that I don't think it's any role is necessary for all of you to look and see that General Kazan is very worried, it seemingly, for her daughter. And Majuin, if you could read his face, would seem to kind of, his mannerisms would suggest the same. His hair, or rather his feathers, are kind of like flopping up and down, and he is seemingly trying to comfort General Kazan while at the same time trying to kind of tamp down his own concerns. What are all of you doing?
Maurice is still, trying to hold court, and trying not to spill too many beans, trying to, mention that they've come from, Saturnine, but trying not to mention the war report, and just try buying time here. And then, yes, my dog is black and white. Yes, it's very nice.
And I think I think that, let me go ahead and turn a card to see how she's responding to this. The rat. Let me see. Companions of mysteries, rats, mirrors, and stone. Survival, resistance, shadows, and concealment. The rat is the companion of the mysteries family. The rat sees much and learns much and keeps those secrets to itself. It keeps to the shadows and, in fact, is the lord of the shadows. If one can keep a low profile, success is very likely. A stronger force presents itself. Resist, but do so cleverly and from the shadows, not openly. Sometimes survival is the best one can hope for, but that is the very thing the rat card suggests. No matter what, the person in question will at least survive if they keep concealed. The rat can be anywhere or anyone. So, how are you kind of like, you're holding court, but how are you kind of diverting this angelic creature's truthful gaze?
I think that's what he's kind of playing on. And he probes her awareness of, without saying it explicitly, the hole in the world. Like, what magic has touched this powerful being that this powerful being might not know about the war report, might not know about all these things, or might only be starting to know things just like everybody else is starting to know things as of a few days ago.
So I will tell you this, make me an interaction roll. So I will say this, Queen Frageliva is incredibly powerful. You would need at least a 15 to delve into her inner motives. However, depending on what you can get, I can kind of tell you how this goes.
I spent 3 bene, so I got a 10.
Got a 10. Okay. So she is fairly impassive. She's fairly hard to read because, again, she's 40 feet tall. She's the Queen of Angels. Her business is her business, and she is very good at keeping her business. But I think that what you ascertain, and tell me kind of like how you're kind of like probing the edge of that question, like without saying it, like, and if you want to do this as a conversation.
Yeah, Maurice is kind of volunteering that, that we wish we had more information to give, but, we barely understand ourselves, and volunteers that, we all met not knowing each other, kind of echoing Gav's statements. And, alluding to the powerful magic that has seemingly cast a fog over us, as well as maybe the entirety of the actuality, and references obliquely the involvement of the angels in that last conflict.
And I think there is a moment where she kind of considers what you are telling her, and she is thinking basically, and I think that she's looking down at you, and she speaks up.
I am not aware of any angels that have been. Am I?
And I think that she is searching, because I think what happens is I think she is searching internally, and then her eyes flash to read you again. And you realize that she has determined that there is truth in your words, in what is you are telling her. That you believe, at the very least, that a spell has befallen the entire actuality. And she cannot find fault in what you tell her. And then she speaks up once again after that very uncharacteristic moment of unsureness.
The world is a spell. after all. It rides the current like all spells. It has waves, choruses, verses, lyrics. It is much akin to cycles and to art. Perhaps that this is a natural outcropping of this state of being.
Your Highness, I would put forward that perhaps this is the most unnatural thing. This is taking us away from a state of order. We've seen so much, and we have much to ask of you. With all respect, Your Highness.
And her eyes turn and kind of reflect between all of you, and her eyes alight on you, Kiri.
The Order of the Vance is respected throughout the actuality. You are known for your command of fact, your understanding of spellcraft, research, and knowledge. What make you of this theory? And why do you speak so little in the company of your friends?
Your Majesty, I would not presume to speak where my companions are doing so effectively. I have always been taught by the Vance that if your opinion is required, it will be asked for. And you can tell that, like, Kiri is making a concerted effort, especially after her encounter with the Silver Warden, to be deferential to this regal figure.
And yeah, I think that there is kind of like an acknowledgement there, kind of like a nod. And I think that, again, her searching gaze kind of alights on all of you. And then once again, looking to Maurice.
You call yourself a spider prince, but you are but a mere mortal of Vislae. How did you earn such a title?
I believe I earned it from my father, who, in all honesty, Your Majesty, I do not. But I was given the opportunity to see myself, not myself, before, and he holds up his tentacle hand, before recent events. And I know that I was a true spider, and I am no longer.
And she considers this.
By proximity, we angels, of course, must bear the true spiders as our neighbors, but often I have found that they prefer to keep their own counsel. You seem to differ from your cousin's family, I should say.
Yes, Your Majesty, very much so.
And what of you?
And she looks directly at you, Twig.
You are hurt, are you not?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fractured. But molded.
I think there's definitely, when she says that, there's definitely a quick reassessment. Twig goes from like, oh god, giant 40-foot tall lady talking to me, to say what now?
And she, again, her eyes kind of fall on you and flash as she looks and takes you in.
I see the truth of you. You are not one entity, but three. How did this come to be?
sorry, that what was from Hopper. Oh no. Sorry, what? I know there is something else that is in my body sometimes, and they're not here right now. But I don't know anything about a third.
And I think noticing this and kind of like taking this in, this kind of response to your state, she just matter-of-factly says to you,
You are not only a corporeal entity, but much like the angels in my service, you have several spiritual facets as well. Altogether, they make these three entities I see before me. The one that you say is not here lies inside you dormant. Much like the second of the three of you.
What are they?
and I think she's taking this in, and she's just kind of a little bit, there's a moment of contemplation as she looks at you.
It is surprising to me that you do not know yourself. They are conceptual spirits, at least two of these entities. But the one I also sense through a cloud, a haze, is a vislae.
You mean me?
And there is a moment where, again, she's kind of like taking this in and says, and there's just kind of like, I think she just pierces through you. I'd like you to make a withstand roll for me.
That's fine. This is fine. Oh, that's the one I don't have anything in. I'm gonna use a sortilege.
Uh-huh.
And that's all I got.
Okay.
I'm not. Oh wait, I get to roll a second dice. Magic dice gives me a 5.
Okay.
I'm sure that's gonna do great against 40-foot tall god lady.
You feel a very disconcerting feeling as you feel her gaze sifting through you, as if kind of like almost like pulling aside a part of you, but more of like a metaphysical part, like she's parting curtains, very she does this very easily, and she looks at you and assesses you, and once again matter-of-factly says,
No, you are a conceptual spirit inhabiting the body of a vislae. But the vislae inside of you still remains. Whether it is the owner of this body, I cannot say.
That seems like that might be bad. Is that bad?
and I think before she can tell you anything, I'd like all of you to make me a perception roll.
Eight.
8?
It'll be a 3 from me.
Okay. I will say that you are a little bit shell-shocked by this news, obviously, Twig. At the same time, Maurice, what did you roll?
4.
Okay. You are also, I think, kind of like trying to take all of this in. and kind of also on your back foot with this conversation. But Kiri, while you are kind of like also listening, you are also aware of your surroundings. And one of the things that you hear from some distance away is the cawing of birds. And you think to yourself, oh, they must be a flock or a migration or something. The cawing of birds is not really all that anything to be concerned about until you hear the echo. And you realize the cawing is getting closer and closer, and the resonance of it, you start feeling it in your chest. And I think that whatever it is, it's growing very closer and closer. And before the queen can answer you, Twig, she looks up, distracted, looking in the direction of the stairway that led to the temple tower. And that is where we're going to cut back to Gavriel. I need...
Screw.
Gavriel, you are looking at this young girl that has a reflection of yourself, as it were, or some younger snapshot of you from when you were but a child in the middle of Russia. It doesn't speak with your accent, but it looks at you precociously like the child that you were. And she has introduced herself as the Ru Stam. What do you do?
You seem to have me at a disadvantage. I think you already know who I am.
Of course I know, but I've always known you. Ever since you were but a small wisp of a thing, a thought.
No.
The moment Ithariel and her choir merged and entered into you, you were within my awareness. Let's call it.
So, am I speaking to a god? This is... Try to level with me here. This is beyond what I am used to dealing with.
Well, if you want to think of me as anything, think of me almost as a reflection of Vislae. Similar to the one you've already met, the Imperial Soul. I'm like her. I am the legacy that has been left, so to speak.
And what can I, such as I am, do for you? You asked to see me, not the other way around.
It's not what you can do for me. It's what I can do for you.
I don't understand.
And she rushes forward and she just reaches up and she grabs your hand.
Oh, God.
And the touch that you feel is very warm and very reassuring. And she looks at you and she says, "You bear a seed of truth inside you. You are going to change everything." I created the angels, many of them, much of them, at least the ones that are here that make their home in the Silver Sun. I had a big hand in that.
And you wish for, and she's gesturing to the hill, you wish for some of them back. Is that why I'm here?
No, no. I am here because they have protected you. And should you wish, they will always protect you. But you are divided. You suffer. And as she says this, she says, and I know too already one of them has sacrificed himself for you. And she reaches down and she kind of picks up, she doesn't pick up anything so much as she reaches down as if kind of like pulling from her own chest and pulls out in front of her palm, and a little mote of light appears. And you realize as quickly as it appears, it flies into your chest. And you realize Odontiel has returned. They protect you because they were told to, because that was the story that the Spider Prince told.
But I did not ask for this.
No matter.
And I do not wish to keep anyone here against their will.
That is a choice that you can make.
No, I do not wish to make a choice for others. I wish to ask what they wish to do. I will not keep anyone bound to me, be it a story or spell, regardless of if it has aided me or not.
Then I can assist with that. Oftentimes, in order to work power of this magnitude, to undo the work of a god, you would need a source of godly change, perhaps from the golden sun. My own powers are somewhat limited in relative measure. I create the denizens of this sun. I can empower them as well. Extricate maybe one, maybe help a member of your family, maybe do some other boon, grant upon you some other measure of comfort. But you have suffered so long, and you have guarded my children as they have guarded you. But it is now the time where you can determine what you want. You can be a reflection of your father's people. You can learn the ways of your mother's people. Or you may be protected by this choir, and they will choose whatever Athariel has commanded for them, but I can allow them the option to return home as well. They will need some assistance, however, to undo the work of a true spider.
You lay out my future before me as if I am bound by a singular path. I must be my mother's daughter, or I must be my father's daughter, or I must be bound forever by the will of the angels. This is not so. I am all of these things. I cannot walk the path of my mother and ignore that of my father. You would ask me to cut off one hand in favor of the other, as if that will bring me comfort or aid. I do not march down any path that anyone has laid before me, and I do not intend to start now. Such is how I found myself here. If you have been watching, I feel like you would know this.
And she smiles wide at you. And what can I do for you? You who walk in paths, who see the beautiful illusions of your ancestors, who walks with a choir. What may the legacy bring you as a boon?
There's a great wrong that's been done to the actuality. Something that I and my friends wish to see righted. I would ask you for aid in this, although I do not know what you might be able to offer us. We fight an enemy of which we can no longer see. I wish to see them. I want to know their faces or their names. I want to know who we hunt.
You will have that knowledge available to you already. And she points at the seed in your chest. But I can attempt to help you to the best of my ability, to tell you who would dare rip down this beautiful spell. If you'd like, I can put in my authority to Queen Frageliva to aid you in your quest. Or I can safeguard you from death. What can I do to aid this most noble of causes?
Allies would be welcome. Death is not something that I fear.
Very well.
But if you say that there is a way to find out if the angels residing within me wish to be free, then I would ask this of you not for myself, but for them. It is not in my nature to keep anyone bound to a path they do not wish to walk. I have already been forced down too many of those. I know it breeds nothing but resentment.
And she looks and she kind of steps on her tippy toes and looks to the side of you and says, "Why don't you ask them yourself what they would like?"
I have.
And
all that they say is that they are bound.
And from behind you,
oh shit,
you hear Athariel's voice. As she says, if I can get the pitch just right.
We are bound to you, and we aid you in this most noble of causes. This quest, this aim to put things right, to make things just, as I am the angel of justice.
And the voice, as you turn, you see arrayed behind you all 77
Jesus
of the angels. And Athariel stands towering in her true form above you, 10 feet tall, looking down at you. And she addresses you and says,
"What would you have us do?"
I would have you tell me if it is a choice to aid me. I will not be your jailer. Forget what you are bound to. Tell me what you wish to do. If you want to stay with me to fight this oncoming war, then I welcome your aid as a friend. All of yours. But if you tell me that you are with me because you cannot be anywhere else, then I will fight to see you all freed, so you may make your own choices.
and Athariel considers this and turns to all of the angels behind her, and she looks back.
All those who wish to abandon this vessel, to return to the actuality, to the functions we performed, step forward.
And not one member of the host moves.
all you who would aid the seed bearer to see justice done, and to safeguard this, the actuality. Step forward.
And all of them close ranks. And the Ru Stam kind of nods at all of this, and there's a big smile on her face as she says, Queen Frageliva will understand that you speak with my authority. I only hope that it will not be the last boon that I can grant you. And there is a measure of darkness that seems to kind of flit past her face, as if falling almost in shadow in part, and you realize that there has been no shadows to speak of in this liminal space in which you have encountered the Ru Stam. And she looks at you and says, whatever happens, you will have the patronage of Queen Frageliva. Go now. And she puts her hands up to you and pushes. And you and all of the angels with you seem to merge as you find yourself overlooking a very disconcerting scene. You find yourself outside of the Ru Stam. I'd like you to make me a perception roll.
Oh my god. I have my suspicions, but yes, I'm going to pop a Bene into that.
Could possibly be wrong.
I think I know what's going on here. Oh, baby, that's a 9 with the perception. That's a 10.
Okay. So as you are looking around you, you notice that all of these sentries that have been guarding this area of the Ru Stam seem to be prostrate and unmoving on the ground in some places, one of which seems to be in this kind of strange position.
The gun's out.
Yeah.
The gun's been unslung.
Unmoving. And I will say this, this one angel is unmoving, but in a strange position of movement, and you realize that its body is fused to the marble floor. And it seems to be unconscious. And not far away, you hear a kind of murmur of conversation. What do you do?
Guns out. I'm going to move towards where that conversation is. I can sense that there's an enemy nearby. This is
Okay.
Yeah. No. Mm-mm.
As you are circling kind of the perimeter of your current location, you notice that there appear to be these two very similarly dressed, very similarly complexioned individuals talking. These kind of very effete, very thin, lean looking figures are having kind of like an animated conversation as they appear to be kind of setting up something which you realize is almost like a flesh covered cube that is eliciting a bright red light. I need to check one thing. And they're talking in these
stupid.
They're talking in these kind of like susurrus, kind of almost like whispers, but also kind of animatedly as they are drawing kind of like patterns of this across this kind of like awful looking cube, and around them at points around the Ru Stam, you recognize 3 additional cubes. The people themselves are albino skinned white with black irises and pupils, and the complete whites of their eyes, completely black. Their hair is kind of done up in these kind of spiky fashions, and they look very much like siblings, if not just doing this through some measure of kind of conformity. They are wearing very stylish black clothing, but the white of their skin matches the bright, shocking white of their hair, as they seem to be having this animated conversation and then laughing to each other as they set up this awful looking thing. What do you do?
How many are there?
2, with the 4 cubes set up around the Ru Stam.
I think internally Gav will ask Ithariel, what nature of creature are these? I do not think they belong here.
And as you ask that of Ithariel, in your mind, you hear a hiss, an angry whisper.
Vespertine.
Thank you. And I think I cocked the gun and I said, all right, Ithariel, if your angels are with me, let's start a war. And I'm going to fire.
And we are going to cut there. Back to the throne room, and I need to change the music right quick. We're going to just have a snippet of what is going on. All right. So all of you have been hearing the cawing of birds. It is now unmistakable now. I will say, Kiri, you had time for one action as you actually heard the cawing. But you realize it is getting closer and closer, and it is beginning to reverberate through the throne room. What do you do?
Yeah. Kiri looks over at Twig and hands them Fortinbras. I never knew how to use this. You might need it. And then she heads to, approaches the queen, because I feel like she's going to try to make herself a part of a defense, a line of defense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. In that, you are going to make yourself a line of defense. As this reverberating noise gets closer, what are all of you guys doing?
Maurice is looking at Ocarian and the angel sentries, looking to get a sense of how they feel about the situation.
I think all of you, as you are looking to kind of take all this in and kind of like see what everybody is getting up to, a stream of carrion birds flocks through the opening of the stairwell that Gavriel just went up. And they begin flying into the throne room, basically filling it completely. It is a massive flock of birds wherever it is. And you just hear on the throne, I should say, you hear Frageliva literally just say,
a solitary murmuration?
And in kind of almost confusion before reaching out and basically incinerating the birds in the throne room. And as they were kind of like making this attack, I need everybody to go ahead and make me a dodge roll as these birds are flying around right before she moves to incinerate them.
That'll be a cool 9 after modifiers.
Excellent.
Can you add like a movement bene to that?
You may absolutely use a movement bene.
Does this include me?
No, it does not include your Gavriel. You are separate.
I'm at 8.
Okay. Kiri.
So it was 5 on the dice, but I'll add the movement bene, so 6.
Okay. So all of you manage to duck as these things kind kind of go as at a beeline for anything in the throne room. Frageliva basically clamps her hand shut and incinerates everything in the throne room before looking around quizzically, and at which point kind of addressing all of the other angels in the throne room.
Where did that come from? Discover its source.
And all of the remaining sentries begin flocking towards the stairwell. And what do all of you do as they do this?
I think Maurice looks to Twig and Kiri and says in kind of like a loud whisper, like, we have to get to Gav.
And I will say, I believe Shia heard you say that. And she's just kind of going to look panikedly at all of you. And she's going to say, I can open a way.
Let's go.
As the sentries move to the open air of the open balcony, anybody who is moving with Shia, you can get a quick glimpse of the area outside. Anybody can make me a perception roll.
Sorry, 8.
Okay. Everybody else?
3 is not yet moving with Shia, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Okay. And Twig, do you try to perceive anything?
Yeah, I rolled an 8.
Okay. So the 8s have it.
What to my pain in the ass I see, Zachary?
As you look out of the balcony onto the open sky, you cannot see the sky around the temple of the Ru Stam for the birds. But the thing that is most disconcerting about this is these flocks are in some sort of formation the size of a building. And not only that, you realize there's not just one flock of these massive murmurations or solitary murmurations, there's 2. However, at that point, having that quick glimpse into the world that's kind of the chaos that's outside of the palace, Shia points to the air in front of her and a doorway appears, at which point she opens it and you see through the portico, or through the portal itself, a circular kind of structure, colonnaded, and Gavriel gripping a rifle, looking like the vision of justice.
Oh, justice? There's a word I'd use, but I don't know if it would be that.
What do all of you do?
Maurice picks up Duncan and runs through.
What do the rest of you do?
Twig just is kind of staring outside for a brief moment at these massive, the undulating movements of these mermations. And I think the camera sees, nobody else sees, but the camera sees kind of like a crackle of green kind of behind their eyes. And I'm going to choose my son for the day. Thank you.
Excellent. I love it. Finally, Kiri, what are you doing?
Kiri's up by Queen Frageliva, I think, because she had gone there kind of in part of the line of defense. And I think rather than rushing to the portal, she turns to the queen. There isn't much time. You know Twig isn't well. Hasn't been for some time, even when they were someone else. Legend says that a god in despair and sadness over the loss of their lover wept upon the hills of a palace. This palace, and where that god cried, is where the tulips sprouted. Those tulips are purported to have transformative, curative properties. And I'd like to know if that's true.
And she looks at you, I think, and there is that moment in the middle of a panic where everything is happening all at once. And I think that what she ends up doing is saying to you,
These legends have roots in truth. But now is not the time.
as these kind of creature, she's looking at you searchingly, and her eyes, however, flash as she looks at you. And she looks at you, and there is a sharp intake of breath. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session.
Fuck off! What? Fuck off!
No.
You're gonna have to kill your evil wizards in 6 weeks.
Oh, that's mean.
It is mean, but
That's fine.
unfortunately,
You're gonna give me 6 weeks to plan that first shot. Ooh, it's gonna be a good one.
I can't wait. It's gonna be fun. So guys, lots been happening. Lots a little bit crazy this week. But you heard right. Tonight is going to be our last session for before the holiday season. We are going to be taking the next 6 weeks off for hiatus. So before we end tonight and do our shout outs, let's of course do our character recaps. Starting with Gavriel. Joy, despair, acumen, character arcs.
So much joy, baby. I just got a divine dispensation to kick ass. Is there anything better than that? I don't think so. In terms of character arc, I'm actually checking to see my exact wording for it.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is, my new one. Become close to the following: Chaya, Mott, Majuin, the Arabast. I would say that conversation with Majuin has started me down that road of wanting to become closer to my parents and my people, but we have not completed it by any means. We are on the road.
Oh, excellent. Okay. So would you say that was another step or no?
I would say that having that slight moment of confirmation from my father, being like, we will make the time for me to learn some of the illusory magics from the Arabast and more of the culture of my people. I just think that it starts it. Yeah,
nice. So let's go ahead and give you one extra acumen for that, or representing that first step. In addition, take one acumen for meeting the owl Ru Stam. And I think that finally, the last thing I will say is take one joy. Yeah. Maurice, joy, despair, character arcs.
Definitely joy. Twig's back, and he talked to the queen good. So that's joy. For sure.
Excellent. So take one joy. Take one acumen for successfully not trying to lie to Queen Frageliva, because she would have known. So take that one acumen there. Twig, character arcs, joy or despair.
Well, I don't think I have the character arc of endless screaming written down, but oh shit, I haven't actually copied this over. But I do have a who am I? Or I think on my sheet it's the much more illustrious who the fuck am I character arc going, and this may actually finally tick a single fucking box in this.
Awesome. All right.
Also, I'm going to refer you back to throw a little footnote there, refer you back to endless screaming. So yeah, that would also be despair. This is fine. I'm back.
So
this isn't my body either. This is fine. I'm not a real person.
Oh, come on. You're a real person. Just, with some extras attached.
You're a real
extra
person plus.
You're a person plus.
I should be charging you guys a subscription. And fuck,
Technically a person plus, but okay. Anyhow, take one.
I'm a triple wide, baby.
Take an acumen for your starting that part of your character arc. Take another acumen for, I will say, finding out that information from Queen Frageliva, or for not pissing her off. And then take one despair. Finally, Kiri.
I thought you meant finally a despair, and I was like, "What game have you been playing?" All right, I'm done.
Kiri, joy, despair, character arcs.
Yeah, I think this is a joy for Kiri. Twig is back. Kiri got to unload Fortinbras, which she never knew how to use anyway, which is great. Kiri got to ask the queen about the tulips. That's a big plus. So yeah, broadly speaking, even though she doesn't have the answer yet, I think joy is the overwhelming of the two.
Excellent. Awesome possum. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our shout outs for this week. Marcy, shout outs or plugs.
Yeah, well, I got to do my usual stuff for Manapod Studios, the channel that we are on. While we may be taking a hiatus, other shows certainly are not. There's going to be a lot of stuff that is still going to be on the air in the coming weeks, months, one of which is Flights of Phantom, which is every Tuesday at 8 p.m. right here on this channel. And next week, I'm very pleased to say, if you want more of most of this entire cast, you should tune in for a little trip to the TVA as the gang commits multiversal crimes. After that, we'll be doing a very boring, pretty low-key version of Die Hard with Muppets. And every time I say that, a part of me dies on the inside.
Say the name.
It's called Mup Hard.
Mup Hard! Welcome to the party, pals! Anyway.
Yeah.
Mercy.
No.
Did it hurt? When you lost a little bit of your soul saying that? Did it hurt?
Yeah. It did.
Does this cause you despair, Mercy?
So this is a great teaser for what's gonna be your way. I think enjoy it. Somebody has to.
They're bird fire cooking. Speaking of bird, anyway,
Liza's gonna break down the door and kill you.
Moving.
So lots of good stuff happening. And as always, if you want to game with us, if you want to chat with us, check out our Discord, watch any of our previous videos on our YouTube channel, and this crew will see you in the new year.
Yeah, excellent. Moving down the line here, Bill, any shout outs or plugs this week?
I want to shout out my castmates. It's so fun to do this show with you, and shout out to the audience. This is a fun thing to be part of, and I enjoy all of you. I'd like to plug Jeff Stormer, friend of the channel. You're going to see him on those Tuesday night streams that Marcy mentioned. I'd also like to plug Jeff Stormer's biannual tradition, Talking Nog. This is going to be, what is it? What date is this? December 23rd at 8 o'clock, I believe. Google it, get that date right. But nobody loves eggnog more than Jeff Stormer, and he'll tell you all about it. And you shouldn't miss it. There are lots of surprise guests, which doesn't sound like it makes sense on a Talking Nog show, but trust me, you should tune in. It's a good time.
Excellent. Moving over to the second half of the screen, Hopper, any shout outs or plugs this week?
Yeah, definitely check out Jeff's stuff. But I'd also like to shout, I'm just scared that the Hidden Valley actually got in touch with him.
Oh,
I'm really scared.
No.
Oh, no.
I don't even like that I know about it.
Ranch nog. Anyways.
Oh no, that's awful.
Yeah, it's a crime. Anyways, you should definitely check out his other work. I was recently on an episode of Party of One, which was super fucking rad. You should check that out. We'll be using the same system next week for the TVA stream on Flights of Fandom. And also, I'd since normally Bill does it, but I'll do it this time. If you like live action, or not live action, that's a fucking lie. If you like actual play podcasts with using D&D, you should check out Counterparty, who have had a great 3-season run and are currently developing their new homebrew worlds. It's a bunch of really rad actors, hilarious people, and it's edited down to make it as streamlined, as delightful as possible. And then also, because fuck you, Bill, I'm taking your spotlights. You should also check out some more news with Cody Johnston. It's a really delightful little news show, and find out why Warmbow is the best. And why we should do a crossover with Warmbow.
Finally, well, also, before I forget, did Kiri have any character arcs or I completely glossed over it. So did Kiri have any character arcs, Marissa, for this session, you think?
The answer is no. I think character arc wise, we're fine.
Yeah, and definitely take an acumen for that for the God's Tulips discovery. Okay. Finally, Marissa, do you have any shout outs or plugs this week?
Yes. Holding up my place as the one who brings you all the cool Good Society news. I have recently been a part of editing something cool, which is going to be publishing in a week or two. So I will talk about that briefly. It's a Pen to Good Society game, which means kind of a spin-off type game that you can use in addition to the Good Society base game. This is called Avalon Society. It's a game designed to tell Arthurian legends. Players play as knights, nobles, courtiers, diplomats, monarchs, heir apparents, and sorcerers against the backdrop of a royal court in decline. Characters fall in love, have their loyalties tested, fight duels, undergo trials, and if the fates are willing, find reconciliation or redemption along the way. So I will tell you, having edited this, it's a very, very good Pen to Good Society game. So if that sounds like something you want to play, go to martianmachinery.itch.io in the next week or two. They've already published Gothic Society, which is like the Dracula kind of Gothic version of this, but this is the Arthurian Legends version. So that should be publishing soon. And speaking of publishing soon, last year, those of you who have been watching the channel somewhat long-term wise may have seen our last Muppet special, the Mupcracker, which was the Nutcracker told with Muppets. And because I'm finally getting my act together and writing a description for this, this should be on our YouTube channel at Manapot Studios on YouTube in time for the holidays. So keep your eyes peeled within the next week or two, and you should be able to watch that lovely special if you haven't seen it already.
Excellent.
You're welcome, humanity.
Oh, God, what have we done?
God.
I don't know why anybody ever listens to me.
I'm just glad I got to play Air Autobahn. Anyhow, that was such a fun one. For my own part, got a bunch of shout outs and plugs, but namely, and also some news. So I believe that we are going to be coming back from hiatus in February. Do we remember what the date was? Yeah.
We're professionals.
We're such professionals.
I believe it is like the first week of February.
February, yes.
I just don't have my calendar in front of me. That's all.
The 13th.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
that's correct.
That sounds right.
February 13th, we will be coming back with more pulse pounding, invisible sun action. You pay for the whole seat. You only need the edge, etc. You know, I'm treating that like it's a monster truck rally, which it might very well be for this upcoming fight. We'll see how that goes. But we are also in that spare time, I am going to be working my damnedest on the podcast version of this, so we can get rid of some of my weird vocal tics, and you can actually listen to this on like breaks or on the train or in the car, and you guys can actually enjoy some audio goodness. We're also going to try to incorporate closed captioning into our stream going forward. I just got to figure out the best way to go about doing that, but we've already done that for Escape from Arkham, so I'm pretty hopeful. Other than that, I will say that I want to go ahead and give a shout out to a friend of the stream, Angel Citadel. Josh, thanks so much for joining us. I was gonna say, Josh and Joanne and several other friends of the stream actually run a really great Invisible Sun stream when we're not streaming every other Sunday, called The Soul's Direction. And we also have another Invisible Sun podcast, or not podcast, stream happening right now by friends who roll dice, which is GM'd by Murfeather, which is super cool, called The Soul's Confidant. So, you know, a lot of soulful action every Sunday if you can help it. So go check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, always check out everything by Jeff Stomer and by Encounter Party and by everything that's going on in the channel. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I may run a weird happy hour at some point. If not for the holiday season, then probably later in like January or February. It may be Invisible Sun related. We'll see. Anyhow, in the meantime, guys, enjoy your holidays. Really get a chance to spend time with your loved ones, with your family, take care of each other, be well, and may the invisible sun shine on you all. We'll see you guys in 6 weeks.
See you next year.
See ya. Happy 2022 in advance. Yay. All right. Night, everybody.